That's true. Well, the sounds would.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Perry Municipal Authority meeting for March 3rd, 2014. And before we get started, I'd like Brandon Armstrong of the Church on the Square to offer up a prayer for us tonight. Thank you, Brandon.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for today. I thank you for just the opportunity to come before this group, dear Lord. I thank you for their efforts, their energy to be here, to serve this community. Father, I pray so much for those that have been working hard on the roads overnight and today, and those that are continuing to work hard to make sure our city streets are safe and county roads are safe. Dear Lord Father, I just lift up the agenda that is before this group this evening, the decisions that might need to be made, dear Lord, and just the items that are there in front of them. Hopefully that will increase the quality of life in this community, dear Lord. Again, I thank you for each one of them, their service, and most of all, we thank you so much for your Son. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Another little item I want to take care of before we get started. I want to count to three, and everybody in this room say a big hooray for the Perry Maroons and the wrestling season we just had. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Maroons! Gotta love those guys. For the PMA, our first agenda item is the consent agenda. Why? Roll call, please, Dixie.
Streller.
Here.
Dow.
Here.
Moxley.
Here.
Norman.
Here.
Nation. Wade.
Rooms.
Warner. Here. Johnson.
Here. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I'm sorry. Consent agenda is item number 1. We only have one item on that, and that's the minutes from our previous meeting. Do I hear any action from the council tonight on that, on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Streller.
Yes.
Dow.
Yes.
Moxley.
Yes.
Norman.
Yes.
Wade.
Yes.
Warner. Yes. Johnson.
Yes. Thank you. Are there any comments from our audience assembled tonight pertaining to the CMA? Any comment? Thank you. I see none. Next item of business is proclamations, commendations, reports, and inquiring by the governing body. We have none. Next item is new business. Billy, you got any new business?
None.
Anyone else? Seeing none, item 7, please.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call, Dixie.
Streller.
Yes.
Dow.
Yes.
Moxley.
Yes.
Norman.
Yes.
Wade.
Yes.
Warner. Yes. Johnson.
Yes. 3 minutes, Dixie. Now we'll call to order the meeting of the regular meeting of the Perry City Council here for March 3rd, 2014. Roll call.
Streller.
Here.
Dow.
Here.
Moxley.
Here.
Norman. Nation.
Here.
Wade.
Rooms.
Warner. Here. Johnson.
Here.
Give me trash.
First, we do need to declare a quorum. Thank you, Mr. Nation. First item is consent agenda. Is there any items on the consent agenda you'd like to discuss?
Make a motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, Dixie.
Streller.
Yes.
Dow.
Yes.
Moxley. Norman.
Yes.
Nation.
Yes.
Wade.
Aye.
Warner. Yes. Johnson.
Yes. You want to do that down here?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay, thank you. Any comments from those assembled, including those to be presented by Tiffany Pratt?
Are you ready for it?
Yes.
Okay.
It's concerning minimum exterior building and property standards related to the maintenance of residential and non-residential properties in the city of Perry. Tiffany?
I printed out something for everybody with, something that I gave to Mary the other day, all the information about some ordinances that I'd like to change in all of the neighborhoods. For those of you who don't know who I am again, my name is Tiffany Platt. 5 years ago this month, our family decided to move to Perry, my husband's hometown. We found jobs locally, placed our children in the public school system, and bought a home here. We plan to see our children graduate from Perry High School and maybe even retire in this community. A couple of years ago, we participated in the Christmas Parade of Homes. It was a great experience. What I took most from that experience was the history lesson that came with it. Through my newly found friendship with Geraldine Finley, the previous owner of the home, my home has not only become a place, to call home, but a sentimental, irreplaceable piece of my heart. I'm hoping that with these properties that are being shown, those owners can feel the same way I do about my home again. I put a presentation together, but I don't know that Tyson was able to put it on the screen. My parents always taught me that buying a home is the biggest investment you will probably ever make and the most important asset you will ever have. I want to see homes as assets again and not as liabilities. Unmaintained and vacant properties in our community can invite crime, depress home values, and pose huge safety risks. I believe that putting these minimum exterior building and property standards in place will revitalize our neighborhoods, create new economic opportunities, and improve the overall environment of the city of Perry. I have high hopes and expectations for this town and what it can and will be. Please help me help our community achieve its aspirations and feel the pride in property and home ownership again. That's all I have for today. I'm hoping you guys can review those ordinances and hopefully get back with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will. Most of these are part of our current, are they not, Jason?
Yes, sir, yes. The city council has already adopted International Property Maintenance Code, and also the regular ordinances, our municipal code covers a majority of the items that are in here. First, I'd like to thank Tiffany for coming to the city council and bringing these issues that are close to her personally. We need a lot more citizens to actively participate in our community. It not only helps me, but it helps everybody when I can get input from people, because I don't see everything. I welcome input from everybody. I would like to invite Ms. Platt to come to City Hall and sit with me so we can talk about some of the issues that she's brought forth and what we already have enacted, what might be some suggestions in there that we could possibly update in our codes. So we'll talk about those and see what is relevant and see what is not. Also talk with her about possible addressing the issues that she's brought forth. I'm sure that some of them are not new to me. I'm sure most of them are on my list of things to get taken care of, but being able to talk with her about how we go about taking care of them is also an important issue. And not just Mrs. Platt, but I welcome anybody within the city to come to City Hall and visit with me about complaints, concerns, anything they may have that deals with code issues. So I look forward to working with anybody within the community, the city council, anybody who has questions or concerns about city code. Just come to City Hall and we'll discuss them.
Thank you, guys.
Can you talk about your process when there's violations and things? Because I know there's laws we have to abide by in being able to
Yes,
follow.
depending on what the violation is, first, the property owner has to be notified. And sometimes just a verbal notification is all that was required. Other times it's a request in writing, given a 10-day notice, allowing them time to request an appeal for the process. It's very time consuming, and that's sometimes what leads to the thought that nothing is being done. It's because the process itself takes time. Property owners have rights. We have to allow them time to either fix their problem or come up with another solution. Like I said, it can be very time consuming, and that's what I try to get the citizens to understand is you may not see progress right away, but eventually you should see something, because it takes time.
Now, I know you've been on the job not terribly long, and I've noticed there are some things, it seems like here lately, there's been a lot more least close to my house, at least. There's been some things that are being done.
Sure, yeah, and that was part of the, coming in and being new to the job, it wasn't something that I could jump right into and you were gonna see results. I had to get the processes down, make sure we were following the correct steps, so if there's any legal actions that ever have to occur, the city, through my actions, is covered with any kind of legal responsibilities that we have. And so the process in getting them down has taken a little bit of time, but I think we're making some progress now. We're moving forward with getting things taken care of. And dilapidated houses has been a process that has taken a little bit more extra time, but they are getting worked on now. And you've seen some, I think we've had 3 voluntarily come down in the last 2 months, and there's 3 more on the books that are gonna be coming down within the next 2 months, so. Like I said, it takes time, but it will happen. There's the pictures. I think Mrs. Platt wanted to show some.
Well, I have a question. It seems that in past years, there have been some properties around town that are obviously vacant, been vacant a long time, and things start falling off of them, and then there's a citation issued, or the property owner is spoken to, they go out and nail up a board or something, show a little effort. Does that then start the whole process of
Can I
notification
answer that
over
question?
again?
That's where, when I wrote up the ordinances, I put in a minimum standard, because I have a neighbor who will do the bare minimum to fix what the code enforcer tells him to do, which is his job. Like I said, there's only one of you, I get that. But, he'll do, like you said, there's something wrong with, he'll nail up a board, and then it's fixed, it's considered fixed. So with these minimum standards that I have set forth and given to them, that maybe we can set the bar a little higher for.
And that was my question, is there a way that we could fix that in our code so that, everyone knows what the intent is, of course, to fix the property.
Right.
But if we
yes.
go strictly by code and they show a reasonable effort or whatever that's called, then that calls off the dogs until you go again and again and again and again.
Yes.
And so I think we need something in there that fixes that so that the real intent is carried out.
Right, and that's where we can go with some of these, upon review of what she's been proposing. If we find some things that can be updated, by all means, we can do that and bring it forth to the city council, and you can vote on it. If you think it's something that could be updated to the ordinance. Our ordinances are designed to change with time. As we progress as a city, we're gonna progress with our ordinances as well, so. Anybody else? The property maintenance manual in chapter 3 specifically deals with exterior surfaces and exterior properties. Anybody on the council would like to see it, I can pass it around, or come by the office, you can look at it. It might help with some of the things that you're reading, so.
I would mention, Jason, I think you started in July, is that correct, or towards the end of July?
Yes.
And if you'll remember, we had a pretty wet summer last year, and so Jason's efforts initially, when he first started, went towards high grass and weeds, and so until those issues kind of got taken care of, it was a little difficult for him to work on the property maintenance and the demolition, but he's on dilapidated structures, but he's definitely, on track with that, and I think it would be probably very helpful for this council, for Jason to give a status report, somewhat similar to what Sharon did previously. And it's a good time of year, it's spring, people, kind of start thinking about working on their, cleaning things up around their house and fixing things up. And so it'd just be a good opportunity for him to talk about that. So So we'll be, putting together some information and bring it back to the council so that you can kind of see, what the process is. So our goal is voluntary compliance. I think it's a win-win. We get things taken care of if the property owners, if we can work with them and get the issues taken care of. Because if it goes all the way through the process and, the hearing officer decides that the house has to be demolished and the property owner isn't cooperative, then the city has to take on that expense. And I guess I shouldn't say city, but it's the taxpayers that take on that expense. And while we can file liens at the county, those properties, on those properties, we may or may never see receive those funds back and repaid, because it's usually only when the property changes hands does that come up at the closing, that there is a lien on the property that has to be taken care of. So, our approach is to try to work with the property owners as best we can, and it does seem like it takes longer, but in the long run, we're hoping that when others in the community see the progress that's being made on some of the structures that are coming down, that they'll take the initiative and work on their own without having to be prompted by a phone call or a letter or whatever the case may be. So
I'd also like to add, through my research, there's several community action programs that are available. I actually found one, rural development they have weatherization programs. There's another community action program that'll give you free paintbrushes. Neighbors helping neighbors. I don't mind helping my neighbor. I hope that the rest of us can do the same. I also found a $20,000 1% interest loan that can be gotten through, I can provide the information later, I don't have it with me. And also a $7,500 grant, that's free money. So to low-income families, elderly. So there's options out there if your excuse is that you don't have the money to fix your property.
Well, I want to assure you, Ms. Platt, that this is not falling on deaf ears. It's been a concern of mine. It's a concern of anyone who's a homeowner. And we have been discussing this issue at times between just members of the council and the city manager and other members. And we appreciate your efforts greatly. And you will see some progress.
I have already, yeah, in my neighborhood actually. So
Great.
Jason's doing a great job.
Well, thank you for bringing this to us.
Thank you for having me.
How much did we put in the budget for dilapidated structures?
Funny, Jason asked me about that today. He asked me if I found an additional $20,000 for him, which, no, we don't have 20. I think,
We
I
did-
didn't look, we put 10, I thought.
I think 10.
It's-
And how much of that we used, or we?
I don't think we used any.
We have not
We haven't
used
used
any
any.
of those funds.
10,000.
How many houses would Bryce
Well,
with
actually, we have
$10,000
used some
take out?
for mowing.
Two and a half, maybe.
If you're lucky.
Yeah.
I
It's
think we'd be
usually-
better off
It's
if
usually
you did.
about 5,000.
If they're fixable, maybe. I know Stillwater for a while had a program where you could get a used building or a building that was falling down if you redid it for cheap. Maybe they even gave it away, and they had to redo it within so much time.
I think we've done that here when it's come to the point.
It's forced properties to turn
Yeah,
to other hands, our pressure has, and then the other person has stepped up and made improvements and made it
Yeah,
at
I
least
think
habitable.
It looks better in the neighborhood than having a house and then having a vacant lot. 'Cause
More
most people
grass
don't
to
build on it, yeah.
but some of those houses are,
Beyond,
they're structurally, you're gonna have to take it down
yeah.
no matter what.
And we're not just talking about homes, so we're talking about garages and storage
Yeah.
buildings and, structures, And so one property might have 3 or 4 structures on it that, need to be addressed, so.
Well, the biggest problem, I lived in an area where I had trash around me, and I bought the homes and paid for it myself to tear it down around me, and it raised my property value substantially by doing that. So what she's talking about there, I support it 100%, because you're paying property taxes on something that's valued at one price, and with the stuff around it brings that down to, you can't get that price out of it. So I think, you know, honestly, if you're gonna own the property, you need to be held accountable to maintain it and take care of it.
That's been a history around the community with a number of people. Our deceased captain, we would buy properties around where he had his home, and he'd clean them, clear them, just so he would not have that around his home. And Captain King, and I know he bought at least 4 different lots and would clear them that were neighbors to him. And so it's been an issue for a long time, and it's time that we as a city addressed it too. We have, and we've had it through quarterly reports, and we'll start getting those reports again. We got our man on the job, and he's fully trained. So thank you, everybody. Can I go to the next item, please? I'm waiting for this one. One of my favorite ones when it happens is number 5, proclamations, commendations, reports, and inquiries of the governing body. Well, I have a commendation to present tonight and a proclamation to make. And Jason, if you'll come forward about where you were last time. It's in your minutes. Jason McClarty, CFM. For those of you who are not familiar, I'll get it for you. A CFM is a certified floodplain manager. Congratulations, that's great stuff. Every city needs someone who is certified in that. Here is your lapel pin, and well, that's your pin. There's another pin there. Go ahead and have it, I guess. But congratulations. We really thank you. I know about this program because I went through it the first year it was conceived, and it is not easy to do, and it is important. Thank you. Appreciate you taking the effort. Thank you. Anyone on council have anything they need to add or declare? Item 6 has to do with consider declaring first off a 1971 American LaFrance fire truck and 2 certain library equipment surplus and no longer needed for public purposes. Wayne got a new truck, and now he can get rid of the old trucks, about what it amounts to. Would you describe your new truck you got? It's a new big fire apparatus.
Come up to the podium, Wayne.
I think folks ought to hear about it.
Well, I haven't brought a picture of it.
All right.
Probably a little easier for you to get top one. Well, as you know, we got a fire tax over the last several years, goes to all the rural fire departments. So for the last couple of years, I've been working on with them. Actually, we started out trying to find a uniform because we didn't have enough money. Well, for the last 2 years, we couldn't find anything either fit or had enough money for, so finally it built up to the point to where it turned out better because now I get a new one. But thanks to the Prairie Rural Fire Association, they allowed me to get that one. It's kind of a combination truck. It's a tanker pumper. So we'll have a tanker, and it's mostly a tanker. It's got 3,000 gallons of water with a 1,000 GPM pump on it. So it'll go on all the rural fires, and also we can hook the hydrant usually here in town for a third engine if need be. So it's a pretty nice truck, about 213,000. So they're not cheap. But
That's great. That's great.
I think it'll be great for us. It'll be a Tim over or something else.
We're just gonna just clear everything out down this way, cause we're just gonna unchock the wheels of the other one, just let it roll and keep rolling. It's a creek hit something.
That's that old white truck facing.
Yeah,
the
maybe
direction.
the only way you get it out of there.
Yeah.
I told Chief Thomas, we'll just push it out and then you can deal with it when it hits.
Well, thank you very much.
When did you get it?
Actually, we're gonna go, we have to pick it up next Tuesday. That's when we got it back, so.
Hit the sirens when you hit town.
You went to Wilburton to look at a comparable truck,
Yes, Wilburton.
so you've actually seen it, so it's not a.
Yeah, I drove down to Wilburton and looked at it, that one that's identical. Of course, me and y'all have been all over looking at other ones, but this is the best one we came up with, so.
Thank you.
I'll make the motion to declare this equipment surplus.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call, Dixie.
Stroller,
Yes.
Dow,
Yes.
Moxley,
Yes.
Norman,
Yes.
Nation,
Yes.
Wade,
Yes.
Moore, yes, Johnson.
Yes. Item 8, comments from the city manager. Take it away.
Well, the item earlier on the agenda, talking about cleaning and cleaning up properties and all of that, is a good segue into my very first item. And it's a save the date. And it's Saturday, April 12th. It'll be the Perry Trash Off. It's where people can bring their unwanted items down to the street department, drop them off, and we'll be working with Davis and with other entities, to take all that off your hands. So put that on your calendar, because it'll be here before you know it, so you're gonna need to work a few Saturdays ahead of time to get all that stuff cleared out of your garages and your attics and all that, so we hope to have a really good turnout, and we'll be providing more information and promoting it through the paper and on PIN and through various media outlets. We also offer a service for those who are not able to get out and load it up, or they don't have trailers, or they don't have friends with trailers. We do have a service where they can call City Hall and leave their name and address, and we'll have the volunteers go around and pick those items up and take them to the street department for the individuals who are not able. So it's a good opportunity to get some things taken care of, and so we all have a lot of that we just kind of stash away. We just keep, kind of putting it back. Don't ever get all of it out and go through it. So please take the opportunity to get rid of some things.
Everyone at location.
Oh, street department, which is, I don't know what the address is.
What's it
It's on the
called?
highway.
Yeah, it's on the highway out,
Can you take that?
going out towards the ODOT. It's where the old school,
It's where the old county, it's kind of where the county
Yeah,
had
yeah,
a
the
shop, and
county.
our shop's in the
Yeah.
south end of it.
yeah.
I think it's actually on 7th Street, but it intersects with.
Mhm.
I don't think they can see the address on the bill if they knew what their address was. But anyway.
It's on past the
It's just
101 bar.
Just past, just past the watering hole.
Never been in there, but.
Yeah. Or is that hole 19? I don't know. It's a red brick structure just
Yes.
past the 101. Or
Um,
seawater.
I promised you information on the 6th and Fur traffic signal, more than just telling you that the materials are on order. So I do have a little bit more specific information. About the middle of this month, you'll see city crews out there getting some things taken care of in advance for the contractor to actually come in and install the signal. And April 1 is the date that, or in that vicinity. Please do not mark it on your calendar. You said, but anyway.
On or about.
Yeah, on or about, weather permitting, all the disclaimers that we always give out. But Brian has assured me that
Sorry.
Brian has assured me that we're on track and should get that signal taken care of, so.
Cool.
I almost didn't, had almost decided not to talk about this, but I know many have expressed their frustrations with the condition of the railroad crossings around the community. And then this morning, when the train blocked several crossings for a long, long time, I was thinking, well, it's probably not a good time to bring this up, but I did want to publicly express appreciation to Burlington Northern, because they did redo a couple of the tracks at Cedar Street Crossing. And so they are smoother. There's 2 more tracks at that location that I certainly hope they'll come in and take care of. But at least 2 of them are okay, and 2 of them are still a little bit, people dodge, try to, you know, miss the holes. So we've kind of bashed the railroad, you know, for, and maybe some people think that it's warranted. But there are folks who work for the railroad that are frustrated with them too. So please be assured that those locally, you know, that work for the railroad are a little bit frustrated too. I guess today the switches were frozen, and so for whatever reason they brought the train into Perry and blocked the intersections until they could get those switches working and get the train moved on. And it backed up everything all over the state, so was not a good situation for the railroad.
Train sitting idle also.
Yes, yes. When the trains aren't moving, they're not making money, so. The American Public Power Association, I'll be in Washington DC next Monday and Tuesday, along with others from the Oklahoma Municipal Power Authority, and we'll be visiting our congressional delegation on Monday and Tuesday morning, and so I'll be out of the office those 2 days. And OMPA is paying my expenses, so it's not going to be costing the city.
Darn it.
Yeah.
I'll get to go.
And anyway, meetings, we'll be, you know, sharing concerns that we have on public power issues, and I'll take the opportunity to maybe slip in another 1 or 2 items related to local government that, you know, can kind of help further our cause and let them know what our concerns are. So with that, I'll open it up to questions. So.
Mary, where we at with, I've been getting several questions, where we at with our ballpark?
We have, what we've been working on is, we've identified a location, which I think we've talked about, which would be out in the Perry Commercial Park, in the vicinity west of the Anheuser-Busch plant facility. I'm not sure, it's not the plant, not a plant, but, so it would include some of it would include the undeveloped property that Anheuser-Busch still owns. I can't remember how many acres, if it's 7 acres. We've been in conversation with ABI, and it's gotten kind of complicated because ABI doesn't actually own it, the company ABI, but it's been, all of their assets have been transferred over to their pension program. So it's a little more bureaucratic than you know, we initially thought, and Bryce is continuing to email, ask for updates, but we're feeling like we can't go. We have met with Professional Development Group, and until we get a location identified, it's kind of difficult to really do a whole lot of work that might have to be redone if we aren't able to use that location. So
They have orally agreed to sell us the property. They had the property appraised at the end of 2013, their whole complex. And so they lettered the appraiser and they said, give us the cost of the undeveloped property. And that was supposed to be in, to them and then to us for the past, I would say, 2.5 weeks. So we are, I mean, it's not that's one item that we're not dilly-dallying on. I mean, we're waiting, and about every week I send her another email and asking where that is, because, and it should be here, it should be here by our next meeting.
Are they not willing to donate that like we've discussed then?
Well, it's a little different, since it's now, been transferred over to the pension system. They're not as philanthropic, as, in nature as, a corporation might be. Because the pension system, their goal is to make money to, to support the pension program. And so, we're hopeful.
Why are we not just redeveloping?
Excuse me.
Sorry.
We can visit afterwards, okay? And we're hopeful that, the value will be, minimal and, not, and not a big price tag like,
Why
because
would
it's
we-
only the undeveloped land, and yes, the city did transfer over that land at no cost to ABI. And that's been part of our conversation with them, is
Because
to,
if we had to purchase, we've already got land purchased, and that's gonna be the question, why are we gonna spend more money to build a baseball park that we've already, when we've got it, and we, money's been borrowed for it, and that's the question, why aren't we doing anything since it's been borrowed? If you're paying
Good
interest
point.
on something,
Good
we
point.
need to be acting on it.
Mhm.
The reason, of course, the council can decide wherever they want to put it. And it could actually be pushed to the south without acquiring that track and could be developed there. It's just that we have been promised an answer and it's just taking too long, but we've been promised an answer and it should have been here in my
And actually,
opinion a month ago.
your inquiry, your question will help us, in our conversations with them, so. So I appreciate, the question being brought forward.
Council, any more questions for this?
Railroad, I'm gonna say something about the railroad.
You just can't
We gotta
get
go back
away.
to that. When I got on the council, Dalton Melton made it very clear, the railroad comes around every 4 or 5 years, and they're gonna want something. And normally it's to like close a crossing or something, then they'll promise you that we're gonna upgrade your other main crossings, but we're gonna close this little one over here. This council, we don't ever wanna give them a thing, ever again. And Dalton told me that 7 years ago when I first got on the council, and it's ringing true to me today, because we haven't seen those guys in what, 4 or 5 years or something, maybe longer. They came in here, they were gonna upgrade crossings and do this, but they want something, and don't give in to that. Don't give in to it, so.
We actually have we actually have a proposal from them, but it's.
Oh, great, see, it's been 4 years, here they go. I
We're
vote no.
probably gonna put it on the next.
Well, we've talked about putting it on the council agenda. I've been talking with the person at ODOT who's in charge of the Rails Program Division. It's the crossing at Elm, on Elm Street. There's, I think, 4 or 5 tracks there. And of all the tracks, there's one left that needs to be redone. And our share would be, the city's share, if we chose to participate, would be $47,000. And so, I've been talking with ODOT. My question that I didn't ask was, if we have an interest in participating, when would the money actually need to be, forwarded to ODOT and provided to them as our show of good faith that we're willing to participate? So that's a key question that I think Meredith would like to know the answer to.
And this is on what street?
Elm.
Why would ODOT have anything to do with that?
ODOT, it's all the rail improvements go through ODOT.
And it's a half a
Trans-
million
Department
dollar,
of
it's a half a million
Yeah.
dollar project. Or more.
So this is something the railroad wants to do, or this is something
ODOT.
some guy down at ODOT
ODOT.
dreamed up?
Well, there was a meeting at that location of all the parties, the city, the railroad, ODOT. I'm not sure who all else was on that list. Matt and Sam attended on our behalf and met down there and talked about the improvements. It's not a heavily traveled crossing, but it is one that, when Fur's closed, sometimes you can, get through on Elm, or if Cedar's closed, sometimes Elm can be an alternative, so, it's something that,
11th and 15th Street's horrible.
Yes.
It's
I
absolutely
mean,
the worst
Yeah,
part.
we know.
if,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
if Burlington Northern had to pay for people's front end alignments, they would probably be able to fix that pretty doggone quick if they were paying for all that. 'Cause, I mean, and it's been like it, I mean, there's times you drive by and them spikes are sticking up that far out of there. And if I had a flat tire going through there, you think you got that off from somewhere else, that's a bad tire. I mean, so, I agree with Conley, they're not willing to do anything for us, why should we do anything for them?
That's something that'll probably be coming up on a future agenda. ODOT's gonna request if, they do a project to repair that crossing, that we would participate. And if we don't want to participate, then I'm sure they're not gonna fix the crossing. That's not something that's gonna hold us up either, so it'll be our choice at that time.
I just think if we're dealing with some of the ODOT's been pretty good to us. I don't wanna give anything to the railroad either, I agree with that. I don't wanna frustrate ODOT either.
I like the railroad till they come by at 2 o'clock in the morning honking their horn. All the way across town,
More than one time.
more than one time.
Yeah.
We have some items next on 8 pertaining to zoning and planning. We have received recommendation from the Prairie Planning Commission on application of John David Malgett, applicant for the rezoning from special use zoning district to residential zoning district, to an RG, to permit the former Blaine School to be used as the applicant's primary residence, building located at the southeast portion of the tract, and with a legal address of the west half of Block 44, Original Perry, and known with street address of 817 Boundary, Perry, Oklahoma. That's the property. Background, this applicant for rezoning has been filed by the applicant to rezone the property from, as restated, and I think we have our planning commission chairman here who would explain this, their recommendation, and they have recommended, but I think you need to bring it up, and the owners of the property and the ones making application are also Mr. and Mrs. Malcolm.
Well, we have reviewed that. I'm the advisor to the planning commission, and we have reviewed the request, and we're all for it. If you've looked at the property a year or so ago compared to what it looks like, how it looks today, and the improvements have been made, it's remarkable improvement. And I'm all for them, so.
Any discussion from council?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, this is to approve the recommendation. Roll call.
Stroller,
Yes.
Dow,
Yes.
Moxley. Norman.
Yes.
Nation.
Yes.
Wade.
Yes.
Warner. Yes. Johnson.
Yes. Item B of 8 is consider approval of an ordinance number 2014-03, amending the zoning from a specific tract of real property, namely the west half of Block
that's what
44.
we just did. We kinda got ahead of ourselves a little bit, so.
I was just accepting recommendation.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was just accepting,
Oh,
so
okay,
now we need
okay,
a motion on
okay.
the ordinance.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm
I've
sorry.
got this. Item B,
I thought they voted.
they did, but I explained why they were voting. They make a motion, I'm gonna let them vote.
Okay.
They approved their recommendation.
Okay.
Right.
Consider approval of ordinance 2014-03 amending the zoning on a specific tract of real property, namely the west half of block 44, original Perry, Noble County, state of Oklahoma, from special use zoning district to residential general zoning district, saving severity, repealer, and declaring an emergency. First, let's take the ordinance 2014. How say you, council?
Make a motion, we approve it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the approval of the ordinance.
Okay, wait. All right, sorry.
Eddie and Nate.
Okay. Ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Roll call, Dick.
Driller. Dow.
Yes.
Moxley.
Yes.
Norman. Nation.
Yes.
Wade.
Yes.
Warner. Yes. Johnson.
Yes. Approval of, does anyone declare emergency?
Declare an emergency.
Second.
Thank
Roll call, please.
Driller.
Yes.
Dow.
Yes.
Moxley. Norman. Nation.
Yes.
Wade.
Yes.
Warner. Yes. Johnson.
Yes. Item C. Consider approval of an ordinance 2014-04 amending chapter 12 of the Perry Municipal Code 2013 by amendment of section 12-286, providing for the amendment to subsection C, making special or industrial uses applicable to site plan review, providing for certain exemptions from standard designs for industrial uses, and as provided in the subsections E3I, E5, and E7, eliminating the site plan preparation standard under section G5, providing for exemptions from contents of site plans as provided in subsection H.1N, providing exemptions by the Planning Commission and City Council as provided in subsection I6D and 8, making other minor amendments pertaining to the site plan review, saving severability, repealer, codification, providing for penalty, providing for emergency. What this do, folks, is give our city manager and the planning commission permission upon their recommendation or their approval and knowledge of a site and its site plan, not to require the developer or person wanting to develop this site from having to have a professional engineer or a professional land surveyor or an architect do that, and it applies to minor situations mainly, where the cost of having a engineer such as myself do a site plan for you would be more expensive than what you're wanting to do to the property. Case of sometimes they'll want to add an awning to their building or an awning between buildings. If they themselves can provide a site plan that is acceptable to our code enforcement officer, it's understandable by the planning commission, and wants to be accepted by the city, it can be without an architect's involvement. That's basically what we do.
Is this
that correct?
normal for residential? I mean, if you were
No.
gonna build a house, would you
No.
have to have a site plan?
No, not reviewed by the,
Okay.
not reviewed by the planning commission, but they do need to come in to get a building permit. They do need to show the site and the location of the house. So that's kind of done administratively. I think the acting mayor has pointed out one of the major points of this ordinance, and that was one of the major points that really gave rise to why we did this, because they thought that the procedure was too onerous. The other thing that this does is it requires site plans for industrial property, which we talked about. You know, right now it's just for special use property, which is what the Malgott's property was zoned as school land, and it was also for commercial property. with an exception, not the downtown. But by passing this ordinance, you will now make a site plan required for industrial property, which I think is what we are talking about as we're developing these industries out, out west. We've been talking about, are we gonna see a plan? Well, if you pass this, you will see a plan. I think the other thing is under the site plan, because it's really tailored for commercial uses, there are certain parts of the site plan which may not be necessary, like landscaping, like sprinkler systems, like trees, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But we provided for a procedure here where a few of those standards could be exempted, working with the person that's developing that property. We could exempt those standards from them having to comply with that as they move forward. Of course, it's all up to the planning commission and the city council. And if the city council or the planning commission doesn't like the way it looks when it comes to them, they vote no. And if they don't recommend it, if the city council doesn't like it, they vote no. So I think that what's really happening here, in addition to that major change, which is that we can exempt it, is it picks up industrial and it permits another exemption, but it's very long and it looks very complicated, but that's really all it does. We also added the part you may have forgotten, we added all those design specs for roads and for surfaces, and that got added back to this ordinance, so it made it several pages longer.
Question I have is, item 8, A and B pertain to the property that the Malgats have down there.
Yeah.
Why is C, if we're changing an ordinance that pertains to all the properties, why is it tied in? Shouldn't it be on an item by itself?
Well, I think that's under the item planning and zoning items.
Bill, it's under zoning and planning.
8 is planning and zoning items. It could have been under its own number, but I think isn't 8 called planning and zoning items? And so we just put all items respecting planning and zoning under it. Oh, the other thing I want to point out is that before we make this kind of change, we give notice to the public, and we put a detailed notice in the newspaper, and we had a public hearing before the planning commission. So if anybody had any comment, they could come and comment on that item. So that occurred, and what David, did the planning commission, what was their opinion?
Was there a recommendation on this?
Yes.
They reviewed it, approved it, we like it. And you touched on one of the things that I think is key in there, and that is the way it is written now. It gives the code enforcement officer and city manager the ability to explain exemptions, and each place along the way, this requires those exemptions to be written down, so we have a paper trail, if you will, as to why the exemptions were made. So they can do that, the city, or the planning commission can do that, and then that's passed along to the city council, and of course they could ask for changes to be made. So it gives some freedom to the developer or whomever is asking for this, so they wouldn't be forced to go to the Board of Adjustments to get some minor changes made. And it streamlines our developing process, so I like it.
Questions, council? Do you have a motion?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion for item 8C, ordinance 2014-04. Roll call, Dixon.
Stroller,
Yes.
Dow,
Yes.
Moxley,
Yes.
Norman,
Yes.
Nation,
Yes.
Wade,
Yes.
Warner, Johnson.
Yes. Thank you. Item 9. I
We
hope
need to declare emergency.
Oh, do we want to declare emergency?
Yes, we do.
We have Saxon.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Patty.
Stroller,
Yes.
Dow,
Yes.
Moxley,
Yes.
Norman,
Yes.
Nation,
Yes.
Wade. You made the motion.
I made the motion.
Oh, okay, Warner.
Very good.
Yes.
Right.
Johnson.
Yes. No emergency. Okay, item 9, I hope you've thought about this and considered it. Consider nominating a member of the governing body to the Board of Trustees of Oklahoma Municipal Assurance Group. Oklahoma Municipal Assurance Group, OMAG, provides pooled assurance and insurance for its member cities and towns. Perry is a member for a long time. OMAG is inviting nominations. Should any member of the City Council want to become a member of OMAG Board of Trustees? Anyone nominated will need to stand for election in May.
Do we have anybody who wants to do it?
Well, there's some members currently on the Board of Trustees who their term is coming up and they always have to send this out. As far as I know, most of those want to return.
Okay.
But if we have someone who wants to serve, we can nominate them and there'll be an election for that position anyway.
Do we have to buy campaign posters?
No, you don't, as a matter of fact. Thank goodness. So anyone who wants to make a nomination, even of themselves, the floor is open for that.
Didn't we nominate somebody from some other town before?
We did.
They didn't make it
A
either.
year ago, we did
They
that.
didn't make it either?
Yeah.
Can we nominate them again? Who was it?
I don't remember.
Well, we didn't nominate, we voted on the nominations. There were some who were nominated and we voted on them, we voted, but our vote, we were not successful.
Our nominee didn't make it.
They're from a small town, I remember.
No, it was a city attorney.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, there you go.
From a large town.
From another town, yeah. So, anyone want to make suggestions or select?
So do we, if we nominate our city attorney, do we have to pay his hourly rate?
Yes, we just did.
Okay.
That is not
We'll
in
do
the
that.
budget.
We're being warned about that one.
Thank you, Mary.
Lynn, you wanna run?
No.
Then I see that there's no,
I don't see any hands going up, no.
okay. New business, anyone? Any new business need to be brought before the council?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
I wasn't through talking.
Sorry.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Stroller,
Yes.
Get out of here, man.
Yeah.
Moxley, Norman, Nation,
Yes.
Wade.
Yes.
Warner.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Now get your luck.